This was not a spontaneous act. This was deliberate, seems to be fairly methodically planned, even though thankfully it wasn't as destructive as potentially it could have been given the amount of devices he had. And this is just yet the latest one of these lone offender or lone wolf, what I would describe lone wolf type of extremist attacks that we've seen in the United States for years now. Now, the last couple of high-profile ones have had this anti-Semitic angle to it. But again, these lone offender, lone wolf attacks have been with us for some period of time.
Local authorities in Colorado have said that this suspect was not on their radar ahead of this attack. But as we said, this is something he'd been planning, he says, allegedly for a year. How does something like this go completely undetected by law enforcement?
Well, again, getting back to this this angle that I'm raising about these lone offender attacks, these are arguably the most difficult to stop from a law enforcement and counterterrorism perspective, because when you're dealing with a single individual not connected to a foreign group or even a group or network inside the United States, they are literally operating under or on their own. And by and large, usually not raising the attention of law enforcement or anyone else close to them about their intent or motivation, unless they're very sloppy. And in that case, then they actually do get disrupted in the run up to something. But time and time again, we've seen in these types of lone offender attacks that people like Solomon are able to plan methodically for a long period of time and then transition from being radicalized and angry to then springing into violent action. And sometimes that can be a short period of time. And in this case, it was almost a year. But this is just an enduring feature of this kind of threat here in the United States.
Going back to this criminal complaint, it also says that this suspect apparently looked up videos online on YouTube on how to make Molotov cocktails. What else are investigators looking through right now? Maybe his social media, his internet search history, all of that.
So in the aftermath of any one of these attacks, whether the person's dead or alive, what you described is exactly what happens. They will look at the individual's electronic footprint, their social media footprint, their devices, and scour all of that armed with warrants to try to dig further into the motivations behind the attack and the capability and how this thing unfolded. Now, in this case, Solomon is alive. He wasn't killed by law enforcement, and he's going to face a criminal trial. So now it's a question of building the criminal case to support the federal hate crime charges. And who knows, there might be a separate state level series of charges. And then that information will be used to then build the criminal case that will be used in a court of law, unless he pleads guilty and doesn't go to trial.
We're expecting him in court, I think, in a little over an hour. He is, as you said, charged with a federal hate crime. Walk us through what we expect to see happen in court today.
So that federal hate crime charge and perhaps other charges, again, as the investigation is unfolding, will be presented. He'll have to go in front of a judge. He'll probably have he will have a defense attorney appointed to him if he doesn't have an attorney already. And then it's a question of how that hearing will go, how he pleads to either the hate crime charges or other charges. And then from there, it'll be a long and sort of deliberate process through the criminal justice system. Again, unless he at some point pleads guilty based on the evidence being presented against him. But we have no idea how that's going to unfold right now.
We have been talking about these anti-Semitic incidents on the rise. Robert Sherman, just before this, walked us through some of the numbers that we're seeing here in the United States. With those incidents and with those lone offenders that you mentioned at the top, what is the answer for law enforcement? How can they prepare for these kinds of events?
Well, to be more vigilant and for folks who are around these individuals who are angry and upset over the events in the aftermath of October 7th, for anything that looks or feels suspicious or alerting, to be reported to even local law enforcement. And that's usually the lucky break that these investigations need in order to prevent an attack from happening. But absent that, going back to my earlier point, it's very difficult to stop these things in advance, because unfortunately it's not illegal to be angry in this country, but it is illegal to try to act out violently on your beliefs. So this is the really sort of fuzzy and gray line that the FBI and law enforcement have to walk.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.